So, good afternoon. Welcome to the Spartans Boxing Show, live on Sport and RM. I'm Lakey, joined by Arv and Richie, and we're absolutely honoured. Our special guest today is the one and only, the First Lady of Boxing. It's Jane Couch. Hello, Jane. How are you?
How you doing, Lakey?
I'm all right. Thanks very much for coming on. It's an absolute
No worries.
pleasure and an honour for us to have you on the show. I know Arv's super excited to have you on, aren't you, Arv?
Oh, 100%. I am 100%. I'm so happy that you've come on the show tonight.
See me and Arv, we're good friends.
As I say,
Go
you
back
both
one way, don't we?
way.
He doesn't
yeah,
stop talking
100%.
about you, Jane. He doesn't stop talking about you.
Oh, look at Richie Rich and all. Little love in it.
Rich is
Little
at
love
work,
is our Richie Rich.
skiving off at work in the back
Yep,
office,
skiving
hiding
off
from his
from
boss,
Good old
a cup of
Richie.
tea and some biscuits.
Yeah. Tea on the side, biscuits on the side.
I'm hoping not to get caught. But
Happy days.
happy days, happy days. You actually got tea and biscuits, Richie? I was joking.
I have got a cup of tea right here and some biscuits right there.
I've got Lucasade.
I've got Lucas. I've got nothing. Have you got anything?
Have you got anything, Arv?
I've got nothing here. I'm just
advertising Lucasade. Perfect. Get some money for that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't know. I'm joking. It's absolutely great to have you on. So we thought.
Thank you for having me.
We were chatting a little bit off air, obviously, for about an hour. But but what we thought would be nice was to talk to you about your life, your career. Obviously, you know, as you were saying to us off air, you're in the middle of you're up in Bristol at the moment.
Yeah.
Your book has been turned into a TV show.
Into a TV series, yes.
TV series, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's who's the star in that one?
We don't know who's playing me yet, but you know Saran Jones from Gentleman Jack.
Who doesn't know Saran Jones?
Yeah, well, she's bought the rights to the story and she's producing it with me.
Wow,
I know.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that brilliant, Arv?
Jeez. It is. Jane, how did she get into getting that then? How did she get into buying the rights?
It's just crazy. I just got a phone call off her agent to say she'd read the book and could I come to London to meet her and to discuss it being turned into a film or a TV series. So, but it wasn't just Saran. There was three bidders for it. There was Lookout Point, and the ones that made Downton Abbey, and then another big one. But in the end, Saran Jones put in the highest bid, and she won it. So I'm working alongside her. It's brilliant.
Super talented as well, isn't she?
Wow.
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Really good. Yeah.
She's a lovely woman as well, and she's a northerner.
That must be quite surreal.
But I don't think it's hit me yet. I think once we start, we're just writing it at the minute. So I think once we start actually filming and moving around the country, and I don't know, it's just going to be really strange, but good at the same time.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
Right, really,
Well deserved as well. So
Thank you.
mean, the book itself was a phenomenal. You know, when we saw you on the TV, you know, and different things when you released the book, but to have it turned into a TV series, that's the creme de la creme, really, isn't it?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. Really.
You know, these TV series, it'd be snapped up by Steven Spielberg next, and that'd be it.
Well, there's already talk of a film, but we've got to wait for the series to come out, and then hopefully there'll be a bidding war on the film.
Wow,
There will be. There will be.
yeah, there will be. The story, story is fantastic, and that's kind of what we want to talk to you a bit about today. Obviously, you know, we were saying again earlier, we're not going to talk about the whole BBBFC thing.
Yeah, no, please don't.
So we want people to talk about you, so because you've earned that, you know, and
100%.
100%. So
it's different because Karen, sorry, like
no, go on, Arv. I hate to interrupt.
Jane, it's something different. You see, Jane, because every single interview you do it's always about the British Boxing Board of Control. Yeah. So it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to do something different, like you said, to talk about you, rather than talking about
going back to it. Yeah, I don't want to keep going back to it because it's not the best. You know, it's not the best memories, and it's only because the interviewer asks you that you end up talking about it, and half the time you don't want to talk about it anyway.
Well, it's a closed it's done now, isn't it?
It's done. Thank God.
Part of
It's
your
done.
life. It's one of those things that it happened and it's done, and you've moved on to a lot bigger things.
Yeah.
Mixing shoulders with the the
thanks to them, I've got a TV series.
Exactly. So fuck 'em is what I say.
True though.
But, but yeah,
fuck 'em, as Nike says.
Thanks to their
Where on it? You're right. Huh?
Thanks to their stupidity.
Yeah, the old boys club. But anyway, so let's talk about you then. So, I mean, the first question is a natural, boring sort of question, but how did boxing come around for you? I mean, obviously, back in those days, it wasn't the big mainstream, but how did you get into the boxing?
Yeah, I was working in a rock factory in Fleetwood at the time. I'd just come back from London. I'd been living in London for 6 years and having the time of my life, and then came back up north and started working in a rock factory, and just saw a programme on Channel 4, and it was Christy Martin fighting on a Mike Tyson undercard, fighting the Irish girl Deidre Golgati.
Right.
And I was like, wow, fucking hell, I didn't know women was allowed to box. And then started watching. It was great, and followed them all through to the fight. And the next day I just got up, went straight to the gym in Fleetwood and went, can I start boxing? And they're like, no. I was like, come on, I saw it on the telly last night. They went, no, you can only do it in America, Jane. You're not allowed to do it here. I was like, why not? No, girls are not allowed. I was like, all right. But in the end, we got the gym, the man, Frank, who ran the gym. He knew my dad and my family, and he ended up just sneaking me in.
So he snuck you in the gym. And did you, did you do any sort of combat sport before that, or was that your first experience of it?
No. So I was born and bred in Fleetwood. Brother was in a punk rock band, so you can imagine what we got up to in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I just was a tomboy really, and was always fighting with them and with my brother and stuff. And just once in the documentary, I'd never even run to the end of the street. It was so unfit. And then I just saw the documentary and then just was like, I need to do that.
You want to do it. And how you say, obviously they had to sneak you into the gym. So how did that pan out when you got in the gym? Was it very difficult there for you?
Yeah, to be fair, it wasn't too bad because, like I said, Frank knew my dad and my family. So the boys just sort of accepted me, really. It was, I suppose at first it was weird. They just kept stirring. But as the weeks went on and I kept turning up and kept skipping and kept doing the circuits with them, and then they was like, oh, do you want a spar? And they'd sort of help me.
Yeah.
And
they fucking scared you more like it. That's why.
Fuck that!
Whoa, no.
Dan, was that like a amateur gym or a professional gym? Was it?
No, it was an amateur. It was Fleetwood ABC. Yeah, and Frank.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, Frank Smallboard was my coach. But after a few weeks, and I'd sparred with Mark Bennett. I think Mark Bennett, he was a decent amateur. He was a middleweight, and he went to live in Manchester. But I sparred with him the first time I ever sparred with him. Fuck me. And I'd been in some fights up to then, like street fights. It was just like, what the fuck happened there? Just hitting me from all over, and you think you're tough. And I just walked forward, like not even with my hands up, just walking forward with my face, just taking punches. I was thinking, what the fuck have I signed up for?
So he went to town on you then, no holding back?
No, he didn't. He was only tipping me, but when you've never done it before and you're used to being in a street fighting with punk rockers, rolling around the floor in a fucking beer garden, but I was like getting it from all angles, but no. Wow. Do you know what? They were dead good with me. Him and Eddie Pinder, they were just like, they helped Frank train me because they were so good with me. And we're a real small town, so we all sort of help each other, and they were just brilliant. But my eyes was open I thought this ain't going to be fucking easy. I couldn't even see where the punches were coming from. So, and I wasn't a natural gifted fighter. So what I did, I just had to work. So if he ran 5 miles, I had to run 6. If he'd done 2 rounds on the pads and 10 rounds of sparring, I had to do more because I just wasn't. I didn't have the gift that him and Eddie had. They just
How,
seemed.
how
It
old
just
was
seemed
you,
to come
Jane?
natural.
How old
Oh,
was you
what
when
was
you
I then? I
started?
was 20. Just
Bloody
20.
hell.
Just turned 21, 22.
Wow.
Never
Because you
done
mentioned
anything.
you
Never
mentioned
done
rolling
anything.
you mentioned rolling around with rockers and all that. They call that the UFC now.
MMA.
Yeah, they call it
Do you know
MMA
what?
now.
When I watched that MMA, I think I reckon I signed up for the wrong sport. I'd have been all right with that one.
It's pretty bloody brutal, though, isn't it? The UFC.
Oh, very,
Oh, mate.
very.
And they're on the floor and they're just like punching them in the head.
Yeah, it's
Jeez.
all
think-
good when they're doing that. It's when they're rolling around. I don't
I
get it.
know. I know. I just don't get that. But I do think, like, because we were such a close knit community that it was strange for them, but they just accepted me as one of their own, and like I would have never left Fleetwood if I could have got the sparring and the fights and everything. But I was sort of forced out in the end because I was bringing too much attention to the gym, and you know it was still illegal at the time, and the owner sort of was like, "Nah, you need to like crack on."
Also, Jane, did you move from Fleetwood to Bristol then?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I never, I never had no idea. That's why you moved.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen you at shows down there, and always wondered why, if you're from, why have you moved all the way down there when you're from Fleetwood? And I never knew.
That was why. Because see what we did, right? So from going into the gym to my first fight. So this is how women's boxing was then. There was an organisation called the WIBF, and it was run by a woman in London. So I rung her up after I watched the documentary and went, I want to fight on one of your shows. She went, oh, you'll have to come down and see us. So I went to Streatham, down these stairs. I can't remember who was training there. Good fighters were training there at the time. And I went to see her and she said, right, you can fight in 8 weeks. I never had a fucking fight, wasn't even fit. I was like, right, all right then. So went back to Fleetwood and said, like, I've got a fight. He's like, fucking hell, Jane, you can't even box. I said, yeah, but I can fight, and I'm fighting a copper, so I'll be sound. And he's like, all right then. So we went to Wigan to this nightclub. Take That was just coming off. They weren't very famous then. So they were just coming up and we went on. So it was a Thai boxing show. There was all this Thai music and I went to Frank, my trainer. He was a little old fella. I went, what the fuck? Like, what's that music? He went, oh, it's that fucking kickboxing shit. He went, don't be fucking worrying about that. Just concentrate. And I'd sold about 150 tickets because it was my first fight. So everyone from Fleetwood got buses up. They're all pissed up on the bus. There's like, stop the bus, we want a piss. And they're all lined up having a piss. And then we get there and Take That's just coming off. And all the Fleetwood lot were coming in. It was just fucking brilliant, man. So, like I said, it was on an unlicensed show, an unlicensed Thai boxing show. And then there was 4 boxing fights on it. No medical, fuck it. Are you fighting tonight? Yeah, open your mouth. I said, yeah, you look all right. Go on, fuck off. And then like, your opponent does the same. So we done that fight, and there was a lad there that he sort of had a printing firm in Fleetwood, and he was involved with the football club, Steve Presnale. And he said, fucking hell, Jane, that was terribly organised. Because it was on. He said, why don't we do one in Fleetwood at the Marine Hall? I said, well, how'd you do it? Because there was no license or anything. So he rang up the WIBF who was running it in London and said, look, we can sell out Fleetwood. We took 150 to Wigan. Can we promote a show in Fleetwood? They went, yeah, fine. You just have to pay sanction fees, referees. So we done it ourselves. So we did 3 shows at the Marine Hall, sold out all 3. And it was getting bigger, so Sky was turning up. And for the negative side, nothing positive, but because it was a woman boxer, they could get all these, oh, this is fucking disgusting, they shouldn't be boxing. And so as it started getting bigger, the gym, the owner of the gym in Fleetwood, because me and Frank by this time we were tight, he was my coach, he was my life, he taught me everything, and I was still a raw novice. I was only 4 fights in. So the gym owner sort of kicked him out of the gym, and I was like, Frank, you can't like that was his life. He was getting on a bit now, and all he'd ever done was train the male lads, Eddie Pinder, Mark Bennett, and all the Fleetwood boxers. And I felt bad because he come out because of me. So, and we went to another gym, which was a bodybuilding gym in Fleetwood, and it just wasn't the same. It was great of them to put us up and let us train there, but it was just me and Frank, and the lads were turning up to spar with me with no ring or anything. And I could see that he was so like dedicated to me, and he wanted me to do well and achieve, that he gave up that. But I could see he needed that gym and he needed them lads. And so I said to him, look, I've been offered to go to Bristol, so I'm going to do that, Frank. And like, I think in a way he was relieved, because that they took his life away, and it was my fault. So it got off to a bit of a shit start, you know, because I had to leave my hometown, that all I ever knew, and all my friends and my family were there. And when I left, so that was my fourth fight, unlicensed fight. And when I left and I got to Bristol, like, I didn't know. I'd gone from a small little town, knowing absolutely fuck all about professional boxing, nothing about, just boxed on these 4 unlicensed shows. And I got to Bristol, and with a professional boxing manager in a professional boxing gym with professional boxing, it was like, what the fuck just happened there? I was like sparring with Glenn Catley, Dean Cooper. I was going to all the big shows with Ross Hale. And
was that Chris Senegal show? Chris Senegal, was he the manager and trainer down there then?
He was, yeah, but no, I didn't. I mean, I used to go to all these shows with Ross Hale and Glenn Catley, because I sparred with Glenn, Dean Cooper, and all of them, you know. It was just an amazing time. But for someone who just left a small amateur gym in Fleetwood, and then the manager comes to me and goes, "Oh, you got a world title in Denmark?" I went, "Eh?" Wow. I said, "All right." And he's like, I said, "What?" I didn't ask any questions because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the game. I said, "All right." Like, when's the fight? I think we had about 6 months, so it was good notice to get ready. But I was still a raw novice, still completely raw. But the lads all helped me. But like, it was just such a big change from boxing on these little shows that Steve and myself had organised, and then just going to Denmark. And it was on like national TV, and she was like a superhero on 27 fights, 27 knockouts. And I don't know, I just was thrust into a world that I got used to for the next 15 years. But it was a big change. And that's what's good about the book and the TV series, is that I've never had the chance to talk about these things, because when you're young, you just want to do all these things, or you think you want to do all these things. Then when it happens, it's just a bit of a different story. Do you know, I don't know. It was an amazing time, but it's actually, when you talk about it, it's actually quite unbelievable. And even myself, when I look back, I go, why did I carry on? Why didn't I just stop? But listen,
determination.
I don't know what I was like. Yeah,
I'm just listening in awe.
Yeah, I am. We're all sitting there quietly. It's not because we're not. It's just mind blowing.
It's mesmerising, honestly.
Because, you know, really, Jane, I've known you a long time. I don't even know none of this.
You said then, what you're saying, Rich, is when I actually sit and think about what I've done, and when I talk about what I have achieved and that, and the things that I had to go through, is just terrible. But I just can't believe it myself, and it's like I'm in a dream. It's just a strange thing.
And they do say life, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel, if you like. You know, you've got your series, you've done great stuff with a book, you know, you've got a lovely little dog. But it's just, I'm just sitting here quite mesmerised, actually, and I'm quite in awe. Like, so
I'm the same. I'm the same, Jane. Jane, I've known you for years, and not for years, but I never thought, about we're talking I never thought about all this.
No, but we never talked about this because when I saw you, you were fighting, or I was fighting, or
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, or you was getting ready to fight. So we had a different relationship. We met it sort of like as friends, didn't we? And when Peter Buckley and you were boxing, and I was just in awe of you and Peter at the time. You know, I had so much respect for what you and Peter were doing, and we just had a different relationship, didn't we? It's fighters respect fighters.
Yeah.
And I would never have told anybody my problems. It was only that I had a breakdown when I retired, and that's why I wrote the book.
So was it kind of therapeutic for you in a way then, writing the book? Is that
I didn't want to do it. It was Ricky Hatton's agent, Paul Speak. Oh, fucking write the book. You've got a deal. I don't want to write no book. I said, I don't want to ever speak or look at anything to do with boxing ever again. Just fuck off and leave me alone.
Jane, that's not your first book. That's your second book, isn't it?
But the first book wasn't me. Oh, when you read the second book, you'll see what happened. You see, it's hard. It's just hard to explain in just one interview. But it was like, I don't know. The second book was me. It was. I wasn't pretending to be that person anymore. I don't know. I just felt while I was boxing, it was just. I don't know. I was just pretending or being forced to be somebody else that I just wasn't.
But in boxing, you find that, don't you? I suppose, you know, like I say, we're not going to talk about that should not be named. But it's, you know, you went through so much in your career, you know, and I suppose like a lot of boxers, you know, there's a persona that comes out of that, and it's like you look at a lot of the, you know, the high level fighters and so forth. I'm thinking of like Chris Eubank and people.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. It's all for the TV cameras. It's all for ticket sales, you know, to make sure people are going to buy. So I suppose, was it like a freeing feeling, this book? So you didn't have to worry about it?
I think what it was, because when I first started, apart from the people of Fleetwood who got behind me and supported me because I was from their town, it was just the other people. So it was like, oh, you must be a freak, you must be a lesbian. So it's all the emotional shit that you're dealing with, and then you sort of question yourself. I was questioning myself, like, am I a freak, or like am I normal because I want to box and because it was unusual? But I don't know. It and then the way you got treated in America and like some of the horror stories is just, I never told anybody because I was embarrassed. I was just embarrassed for like to even be putting myself in that situation around people that horrible when I've just come from, like, we had fuck all as kids. We had no money. It was from a fishing town, but we had each other. You know, we had that, and then I was just in this professional boxing world, and it was, I played along with it, and I don't know. I just turned into something that I wasn't.
But it's, you know, I'm sure we've all been there in a roundabout way, but it's so, you know, you talk about life after boxing, you know, you went through a difficult time, as you've said there, you know, and I mean, so once that book's come out, you got the TVs. I mean, how are you? Is that now when you look back? I suppose the point I'm trying to make is when you look back at your boxing career now, does it fill you more with pride to look at it now? Because you were saying obviously you didn't want to know anything about boxing before. You wanted to forget it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I achieved a lot because my ability. I was just a first fighter. I wasn't skillful. I wasn't any good at defense. I just was blessed with a good chin, which how I won the world titles was I just wore them down, just broke their heart because they couldn't stop me. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of it you forget what you've done, and it's only when you do or a TV series like you have. I mean, if you were sat with Peter Buckley and we was all chatting, things had come back to you that you've totally forgot. Yeah. And over the last couple of years with me, things that have come back and the stories people have told me, I've gone, and I've been blocking it out because I didn't want to remember it because it was so bad, like the way you were treated.
I know what you mean, Jane. Still, you've had fantastic career, winning them titles and stuff. What you've achieved is fantastic.
I was on the same bill as Lennox Lewis, same bill as Roy Jones,
Amazing.
same bill as Prince Nassim Ahmed, Montel Griffin, all the big fighters in the States, and millions of viewers. And you're on these massive undercards, but while you're doing it, you don't see what you're doing. It's only now when you chat,
you realise.
Yeah, you only realise then, and sometimes I think with boxing, especially nowadays, because there's all these media channels and YouTube channels and chat shows, and there is a hell of them now, that I think a lot of boxers can get dragged into maybe doing too much, because that's what happened to me, because I was like, first boxer, she must be a freak, let's interview her. So you're doing interview after interview, but you're not coming across well, because I had no idea of how to speak to the media. I would just be like, and if I did say something, I'd say the total wrong thing, and I wish I'd never said it. And I'm like, I did. But it's because of your nerves. You're on like Michael Barrymore. Like,
I remember you punching him up.
I remember you punched him. I remember that well.
Do you remember that? And then my mum ran me up. My mum ran me up and she said, this was a couple of weeks later, she went, anyway, I think you've put Michael Barrymore off women. I goes, why is that? She went, well, it's come out in the paper, hasn't it?
Come out.
And it was only 2 weeks ago that you hit him.
Come out.
That was the tipped him over the edge. That one, so coming out.
Yeah.
But my career was just, because it was a lot of television and it was a lot of stuff like Barrymore where they took the piss, and it was a real roller coaster. And at the end of it, you're like, what happened there? Like, did I really just do all that? Did I really just do it? I can't, and going to Buckingham Palace to get your MBE, and it's like, shit. And I have proper forgot it all. Just blacked the bad, well, the bad things I've just blocked out, I suppose. But the book and the TV series has brought it all back. So I'm going to start crying in a minute.
What you're saying there, though, Jane, like Barrymore and everything, that's when sort of families used to stay in on a Saturday and watch. Do you know what I mean? Barrymore and
there was only three channels, wasn't there?
Yeah,
that's right at the time.
Channel 4 was all
spend time with families, That
was an art channel.
And then I think that's why I got so well known, because instead of just doing the boxing, which I should have been doing and learning, because it takes years to learn, and I was only a novice. And instead of doing that, I was doing more TV than I was training. But I was in a hard training camp with the lads in Bristol, and I trained just as hard as them. So
and that was a good camp. That was people like Dean Francis.
Yeah, Dean Francis.
As well. Yeah, Glenn.
I learned a hell of a lot from Dean Francis. He, great lad, and we stayed friends right up to when he died. But just amazing experience. And then you're there 1 minute with all the lads, and you're happy and you settle. Then you're whisked off again, doing more TV in London. And I was up and down on them fucking trains every other day, and it was just such a world apart from what I'm used to. I don't know. It was just fascinating. It is really, when you see it all in the TV series, it's just fascinating that I got as far as I did and seen the few people and met the people that I did. It was just crazy.
Did you train full time with them most of the time? Because there was all good guys there, and fantastic.
I lived on the farm. Yeah, I lived on the farm. I trained and lived on the farm. I never left the farm for 8-9 weeks at a time.
They always said that. Glenn Catley and all that. They were good. I remember Glenn Catley when he beat Kirkland Lang. Kirkland Lang was well past it.
Yeah.
The boys know the story of Kirkland Lang. He was a hero of mine growing up because he lived across the road.
Great fighter.
Glenn Catley said after the fight he was sad because he beat one of his heroes.
Yeah.
Very humble guy. Catley
lovely. And like I said, all them, I was lucky in the gyms, like Fleetwood Gym with the amateur lads, and then Bristol with them lads. It absolutely amazing experience. And like I said, I still pinch myself today.
You're just so bloody humble.
Yeah,
you're so bloody humble.
Oh, it's
you're
true.
You're like a pioneer for women's boxing, and you're just so. It's like we're all friends. Like you know what I mean. It's like we're all
fantastic.
No, it's
true.
Nice. It's just not. And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
nice.
sitting here, like enjoying my lunch break.
I think what you're trying to say is, Rich, you don't act like your shit smells. It's that kind of, you meet a lot of people. We've interviewed a lot of boxers, and I must say, boxers generally are the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
When it comes to chatting to fighters, ex-fighters.
Luckily, I don't think any of us have met a bad. Touch wood, met a bad.
I mean, Arv's quite snobby, since he's retired to Midlands, as his fucking tiffin. But I mean, he's no joking, Arv. I love you really, but no, just generally speaking, But I know what Richie means. It's kind of it's that what you see is what you get. You're happy to chat. You're bubbly. There's no smoke screen, no shit. You just say it as it is, and I think that's what's endearing about. That's the nice thing.
Yeah, but I think like you get a bit older and you get a bit more experience, and around the people that I've been around, I just feel like blessed to have had the chance to do that.
Can I make a confession? The boys know I'm an avid boxing fan, and I'm just I've got to sort of pinch myself that I'm actually talking to you, because it's like I was a fan. Not going to lie. And I'm just, like I said, it's just for me, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? I've got to say, I know Arv knows you and stuff. It's a bit surreal for me now. It's like,
I think it's because of what you have achieved in boxing. I'm not even going to say women's boxing or male boxing.
No, just boxing.
What you've achieved in boxing, you talk about the likes of Lennox Lewis, Montel Griffin, Roy Jones. I guess, I don't know, I'm talking about Richie, but for me, I would put you at that same level in my headset. In my mind, I'm thinking when I think of boxers and I think of the great boxers, then I would put you up at that level as well. So that's why it's probably a little bit of a starstruck kind of feeling.
But again, I think rather than that being down to the boxing, it was more down to the media frenzy, because I was the first woman boxer, and I think that played a big part, because most boxers don't get any press, even if they have a fight and they win. They don't even get a line in the local paper. But because of the media invasion, because they're just so fascinated with this freak training in Bristol to be a professional boxer, that I think that's the only reason why I'm probably I was more popular than some of the lads around at the time.
But again, it's even though that they put you into that box and they stereotyped you, and you were saying earlier, and I read a story earlier about again, we don't want to talk about that should not be named, but the people that went to the case with you, I know unfortunately passed away, but there was that whole, they were casting the three of you as like lesbians and all this kind of stuff, not that we want to talk about that, but it's that whole stereotyping thing. But I think for us it's kind of where you broke down so many barriers, so it's not just that
So at the time, I am what I am. I've never changed that. But when they was coming out with all that, I just ignored every bit of it. I blacked it all out. I blocked it all out of my mind, because I knew that no matter what they put in front of me, I was gonna become world champion, and I was gonna make it, and I was gonna do it in Britain. And fuck whatever they said. So it didn't bother me, and I was young. I was young enough to take that. Oh, you're a lesbian. Oh, you're a weirdo. Oh, you're a freak. I was young enough at the time. Didn't give a fuck. It's when you retire and you get write the book and do this. It's when it comes back to you then. When you get a bit older and you start thinking about it. But at the time, they said what they wanted, because it was that time there was no women boxing. So I can sort of see why it was like that. I can sort of see it, but what I can't see is that why I went along with it. I didn't need to go and do the big TV shows, because I was arguing something that people really didn't want to see anyway. It, like, even someone some of my own friends was like, what the fuck are you doing? What you want a box for? Like, what women don't box? And that's your own friends and your own people that are close telling to that. So at that time, I can understand it, but I just wish I'd have had a bit more media advice to how to present yourself. I was going on like live TV and going, why don't you go and fuck yourself and fuck off on radio, effing and blinding and just making myself just look shit.
You didn't have that joy then. I mean, you think of like the big stars of boxing now, like the AJs and people like they have that whole media training, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
they employ people, don't they? That's the thing. They employ people to do their social media. And
that's right.
Practice their interviews and
that's right.
Like you said earlier, Jane. Look how much social media we've got now, and
anything.
There was nothing like that.
There was nothing about like I remember being in New Orleans with Angelo Dundee, and I was in the toilet, and his wife was in the toilet, and I said, "Fucking hell, I've got to get the weight off." She said, "Well, how much?" I didn't know she was Angelo Dundee's wife. I'm like, "Well, I'm like fucking quarter of a pound over," and I was like skipping in the toilet. She had the boxing sweat, like she was like helping me. And then she called Angelo into the ladies' toilet on a boat in New Orleans, some fucking boat. And Angelo Dundee walks in, and I went, fuck. And then I looked at her, and she went, "This is my husband." And she went, "Jane's fighting on the show tomorrow. Will you help her?" And he went, "What weight you got to be, kid?" And I went, 140. What are you now? And I went, 141, I think. And he goes, "Come on." Went out to the weigh-in. I was like, "No, I've got to be 140, but come on." And we goes out, and they called me to the scales, and I gets on the scales. I was about a quarter of a pound over, and he puts this tin of beans, big tin of beans, a big like catering tin, on the scales. He went, "Them scales are wrong," and the commissioner went, "What's that, Angelo?" No, then he said, "Look on them scales, they weigh that," and the scales say, and he put it a quarter of a pound over, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, Jane Couch, 140. It's like,
brilliant. Little trick of the trade.
So I spent the whole week with him and his wife. Then it was brilliant. They wanted to adopt me and take me back to America.
Wow. And what was he like as a I mean, obviously great guy, but what was he like?
Obviously, he was a bit older when I fought in New Orleans, and he was just the nicest person. Like, besides all what he's achieved in boxing, it was the time with him and his wife, and he was just so normal and he was getting mobbed like everywhere we went, and then I remember I said, "I need to find a gym." He goes, "Come, I'll take you to a gym." And he was sleeping under the ring, Matthew Sam Mohammed.
Wow.
Who fought John Connor, and because I couldn't believe it, man. So then I got friends with him, and then Angelo said, "Right, I'll leave you with him." And he was homeless, and he was sleeping in the gym, and he couldn't even get tickets for the fucking show that I was boxing on in New Orleans. And I was like, fucking hell. So I went to the promoter, took him back to the hotel with me, give him my room, and then me and my mate just shared her room. And I got 20 tickets off the promoter, free, and I gave him Matthew, and he went out and sold them to get a few. But listen, and then I was only 6 fights in, 7 fights in, I think. And he wanted me, like, not want to say heroes, but because I'd been like watching all the fights, and I knew that he was one of the best light heavyweights in the world. And I was so young at the game, and I was like, how the fuck did you end up like this? And you're a legend. I went, you don't think you realise what a legend you are? And he was like, Jane, this is boxing, how it turns out. And then I goes to get paid. I had a fucking war with Andrea Deschamps, stopped her with a body shot in the 7th round live on ABC television, something like, I don't know, millions of viewers anyway. Goes to get paid, and the promoter said, I ain't got any money.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't get paid. Angelo Dundee's fight, I never got paid, but Angelo got some of it. But the promoter just didn't have any money, and then that brought me back to, and me and Matthew were sat in the bar having a drink, and I went, do you know what? I know why you ended up like this now. I said, because I needed that money to pay for my training camp when I get back home. And I owed £200 here, I owed £100 there. I owed for my boxing kit, and they never paid me. So that I was fucked. I owed everybody money then. And then I was looking at Matthew, who's homeless, who's like achieved more than I'd ever achieved in a lifetime. And it was just so all them good times with Angelo and all that, and then learning things about Matthew. It was just one big, massive education that I went on. Wow. But I'm glad I did.
So, yeah, but those kind of stories, it's like, well, it goes back to Richie's point. They're all probably starstruck because.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm just a bit like
the stories you come out with. You know, it's.
Jane, I never. You know, it's mad.
Can I ask you, Jane? You mentioned Christy Martin earlier.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any meetings?
Well, I'm Rich, so I'd watch Christy Martin, and that's how I got into it. So in my head, I'm thinking I've got to go after her, go to America and beat her. So I remember Steve Robertson was fighting in Cardiff, Manuel, someone, and Don King was over. So, because they were trying to arrange the NAS fight, and Don King was, and John Lloyd from I think it was the Daily Express, he rang me, went, Jane, Don King's coming. I was in Fleetwood at the time, and Steve used to take me to all the boxing shows. And he goes, Don King's coming to the press conference. I can get you in. Meet me. So we went down to Cardiff, got into the ice rink, got us into, and I'm face to face with Don King. And I went, I want to fight Christy Martin. He went, yeah, no worries. Get your manager to call my manager. And I was like, I ain't got a fucking manager. What's going on about? I'm talking to you. He goes, okay, take my number. And he gave me his phone number, and I give him my number. And I thought that was it. Then I watched the fight, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to fight Christy Martin. And that's when I was like this for weeks, thinking, well, when's it going to ring? Like, what? Just me, silly fucking me, expecting Don King, yeah, he's going to ring that fucking curly-haired nutter he's just met at the weigh-in in Cardiff. I believe, because I believe, like, if Richie said to me now, right, Jane, I'm going to ring you tomorrow, I go, all right, Sam, Rich. I'd expect him to ring. Well, this was me with Don King, not realising he's the biggest fucking mental sort of fraud in the world. So we get back to Fleetwood after that, and fucking we'd saved up all these coins in a jar, and I said, how much is it to ring America? I don't know, it was like £1.10 a minute or something. So we goes to the phone box, me and Steve.
Back in the day.
Yeah, proper phone box. 10 pences in that we'd saved up. And I got through to the office, but fucking hell, I just believed the bullshit. And I was like, can you tell him to ring me back then? And they're like, yes, Miss Couch, we'll tell Mr. King. And I believe, crazy days, crazy.
A bit of naivety.
That's how naive I was,
yeah. Well, why not? I mean, like you say, you just, you believe, we all do, don't you? It's like you say, someone who's going to do something, you kind of think they're going to do it, don't you?
And, you meet, I mean, I'm just getting into professional boxing, and I'm meeting like Don King and all the big players, and I'm thinking, well, this is all right, just ask them. And every time I asked anybody, they go, yeah, we'll sort that, but you just don't hear back from them.
They just didn't bother. I mean,
Christy Martin was my main goal, so I went after her because she was the superstar. She was boxing on Mike Tyson undercards, and then I just realised that I'm never going to get the fight. They're not interested, not one bit. I need to win a title to get anywhere, and that's then went on to Denmark and beat Geiger, who was undefeated in 27.
Yeah, that was an impressive. How was that experience? I mean, that must have been an experience and a half.
God, that was a great experience. But I think out of all my fights, that was, apart from Riker, that was the hardest fight. Took a lot of damage in that fight.
Was this the one where you got your teeth injured and
yeah,
your
broken cheekbone, broken jaw, broken nose,
broken,
broken wrist. Oh, terrible. I was in a terrible state, but broken eye socket. But listen, I would have died that night. I would have died that night because I was that desperate and that driven to become world champion and change and be able to box in this country that I would have died that night. I didn't give a fuck. I was different. If it was nowadays, I wouldn't have even done it. Knowing what I know at that time, I would have. Yeah. It just was that driven, and I had to win that fight. Because if I hadn't won that fight, there'd have been no court case. There'd have been no fights in England. There'd have been no hope for young girls now that I work with. And no, I wasn't going to let that happen. I had something in my head, and nothing was going to stop me.
And it seems to be that's been the pattern of your life. You just push on. You just. Yeah. This is why we say about the respect of it. You just break. You know, you're determined. You know, it comes easy to. You know, you just broke through all of those walls that were put in front of you. Just smashed them out of the way. It's like, yeah, get out of my way.
I couldn't do it now. Like if it was the same all over again, because I think it's because as you go along in life, you just get
wiser.
Yeah, and you get more hard, and you get to know people and not really your friends, and because that was my biggest. I had a terrible time when I retired, but that was one of the biggest things because all my friends weren't my friends, and I really thought it wasn't. You probably was the same when you retired. Of your phone just stops ringing of people that you think that you're close to,
true.
That you've took all around the world don't even fucking want to talk to you no more.
The old Klingons.
So sad.
Yes,
so sad.
Klingons.
Klingons.
That goes back to the days of Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali and Tyson.
Yeah, and then all the times like I think, why didn't I learn this off when I was with Matthew Sam Mohammed, when I was with Mike the Bounty Hunter on the steps at Copenhagen, and he was telling me, Jane, it's a fucking mugs game. Get yourself a good manager, get yourself this. I never listened because even though it was there in front of me and it was coming out of their mouths, that won't happen to me. That won't happen to me. And it does. In the end, boxing is a very short career. You're taking blows to the head. I was in hard training camps for years, like I said, with Dean Francis, Glenn Catley, Dean Cooper. I was with top amateurs in Bristol, getting the life punched out of me every day because I had to learn. I had to be world champion, and to do that was who I had to be training with.
Wow. I mean, how do you jumping around questions a little bit? Sorry, but just listening to your story, you know, what you had to go through to get where you wanted to be. You know, what do you think? What do you think of the women's boxing scene now? Do you think it's? How do you view it now? You know, the way it's
I mean, to be fair, the women are doing amazing. They're doing an amazing job, but the way sometimes it comes across is like, oh my God, it's at the top and it's the best thing ever. And where Tasha Jonas and Terry Harper, brilliant credit. That fight was just a credit to women's boxing. But then there's a flip side to women's boxing. There's girls out there that I talk to today that have been in the gym for nearly 2 years and still no fight, or been promised a fight and they've got to sell tickets. You know, it's not that glory thing that Sky make it out to be. That's just for certain women. That's just for Katie Taylors of the world and the girls that they can mould how they want them. You know, but they've got a danger of just crashing by making the wrong fights, and people like Tasha and Terry and Katie, you know, all them girls are brilliant, match together, match right. But you know, there's people coming, there's other fighters coming from, you know, Australia, and they're talking this, and America, and they can do this, and then they can't back up what they say when they get here. So, you know, there's still a long way to go with women's boxing, but right at the minute, I mean, people like Tasha Jonas banging the drum, and she's an absolute credit, a credit to the sport, a credit to the girls. Stacey Copeland as well. Yeah. Stacey's just recently retired, and God, the stuff she does for women and kids in the gym, and a fantastic role model. But it's not on a level where it needs to be at the minute. It needs a lot more investment, and it needs these girls that are not fighting, that are stuck in a gym waiting, like Lisa Whiteside, for instance. She's just turned over. The girl could fight a girl that's been a pro now for a few years because of her amateur background. She was one of the top amateurs in the country and very, very talented, yet she can't get a fight in the pro game because she's not with Eddie Hearn or anyone that's promoting women's boxing. And that's wrong. But the talent's there. I think it'll be the next generation where it'll really show that some of the amateurs...
It's a shame that Jane, I've seen her. She's very, very sharp. That young lady, very sharp. I've seen her on pads, on a clip on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Lisa
Whiteside, yeah. Whiteside. I mean, she's a northern girl as well,
sharp. And very sharp.
Very, very good amateur. But like I said, she can't get a fight in the pros because I don't know, because she's not with the right promoter, and that's what they don't want to do. If there's talent out there, they want to match the talent with the talent and get it out there, because women's boxing at good level is brilliant to watch. It's brilliant. I was often fight of the night when I boxed in America because we were well matched, not because I was good or she was good. We were just well matched, you know. Two donkeys make a good race. No good having mismatches, and you know, you want to make it more selling to the public. But this is what gets me as well with it. Like, I've done all, they go, oh, Sky, this is the first this and the first that. I did all this in America, and we seen then how it was going, and the mistakes the promoters made there by matching Christy Martin and Mia St. John with, you know, with waitresses that were just off for the night. And it did a lot of damage. It did a lot of damage. And there was people like me and Holly Holm, Lucia Riker, Sumi Anani, you know, some very good fighters pitched against each other in a 50-50 fight. None of us knew who were going to win, but it was a real fight. And then you was looking at Christy Martin, who was getting paid stupid amounts of money when we were getting $500 for fighting that. And that's how you don't want it to go. You want the women want to fight competitively and to get the sport up there. That's what it's going to need.
I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head as well. I mean, because at the moment, you know, the big money for the girl fighters is with Eddie Hearn, isn't it? I mean, he's the cash cow at the moment for that. So do you think it just needs other promoters now to step into the breach? It would be, you know, and say, right, come on, let's take on some more female boxers and really give this a good push. Because at the moment, I suppose with Eddie, he's looking at, you know, he's a businessman at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's about making the money, you know. So he's going to go where the money is, you know. He's going to go to the tailors and, you know. But do you think it does need? I mean, Frank Warren doesn't seem to be doing. He took a little, dipped his toe in there a little bit, I think.
Yeah, Frank don't like women boxing anyway.
Nah,
probably, you know, is what it is. And unless people like him, I mean, MTK have got Chantel and Tasha, Chantel Cameron's a massive talent, but she'll probably never get the Katie Taylor fight because there's a chance she could win.
Yeah. And it's that, back to that money, isn't it? Again, you know,
all down to if they've got a cash cow and they want to keep them winning, that's what they do. Same with the men, they keep them winning, but the girls don't know that yet. The girls are thinking, like I was thinking, I'll get the Christy Martin fight. I've just fought Don King because you believe that you're going to get it. And it just, you know, and that's where it needs the input, is where the girls in the gym that are waiting for a fight, that have got a pro license, that are paying the ball fees and not getting no fights, you know, and trying to sell tickets. But they need to get out maybe on the small shows. Some more promoters need to get involved. It's no good just Eddie doing it on the top draw on Sky, because where do you learn? Where do you learn your trade then? You can't learn on the small shows.
And that's probably a lot of it. I mean, this again, Arv and I, we talk a lot. We've got a guy that helps us out on the radio, actually, a guy called Chris Boyle, that's up in Worksop, and they're affiliated with BIBA, British Irish Boxing Authority.
Right.
Those guys, I'm sure these lads are batting me up, but they really do seem to be pushing the female boxing.
Yeah.
Boxing at the moment.
And so do the UFC. And they have, the UFC are doing massive jobs with the women.
Yeah.
And it's a really good fight.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I suppose with the thing with the UFC as well, which I really do like, sorry, changing around again, is no one gives a shit about they're unbeaten. They don't give a damn about the O, do they? It's like,
just a great fight. Look at I was watching Meatball Molly from Liverpool the other night. Win, lose or draw, she's just great to watch because she's real. She just wants to have a fight. Fucking get on with it. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Proper stuff, proper fighting.
This is where it's different. This is where it's different from the UFC. Is different from the pro. In the pro game, everybody's worried about losing. In the UFC,
they don't care. They just get on with it and learn the trade. You've got to learn somewhere. You might as well learn in the ring. I learned more in the ring than in the gym.
It's a shame. It is like that. You I remember when Lennox Lewis got beat by McCall. Oh, does this spell the end of Lennox's career? Right. And if you revert back to the days of Henry Armstrong, I think Henry Armstrong lost his first 8 out of 10 fights. Bernard Hopkins lost his first fight. People like that. How can you write someone off after one loss, whether it be a knockout, lucky knockout, whatever you want?
A loss sometimes defines a fighter. A loss can sometimes make you better.
Yeah,
it baffles me. Johnny Nelson, he lost a few, when he first started, and it's
just crazy.
But we were talking to Beck Connolly the other day, weren't we? And she's, I think her record's 3-8. 3-8.
3-8.
Yeah.
Little fight, yeah.
But she's a fantastic. When you talk to her, she's very much like yourself. Just started. She's in the infantry, I think. She's a rifleman in the infantry. I mean, she's a
proper seller, like it, wasn't she?
A proper ticket seller, yeah. But she just wants. Yeah, she said, I was learning on the job, and she's been learning on the job. Yeah, and she's
learning on the job, and then she's probably getting because there isn't really the depth here. She's probably a bit like myself, where she has to take fights where it's a bit 60-40.
Yeah,
in the favour.
Exactly what she said. But
but if you go on, Lakey, go on.
I was going to say, but she's at that phase now where she said, she was learning, but she feels more like a bit of a gatekeeper now, and she feels she's learned that right, that maybe some of these fighters, like the Ebony Bridges and some of the up and comers, they should maybe fight her first.
Should do, really. I mean,
she's like a world title fight or something.
Yeah, and she should have something put in her favour because she's gone against the home girl all the time. And me more than anybody will tell you, I was against the home fighter most of my career, and it's not easy. You're 3 or 4 rounds down going into the fight.
Exactly.
I was just going to say about how many people wrote off Jonas, Natasha Jonas, after she got stopped. And then she kind of sort of disappeared off the radar. I know she had a baby and stuff, but it was like when she got the title opportunity against Terry Harper.
Different girl, just a different.
Fantastic.
Why is she fighting? And in my opinion, she won that fight, right? I've been quite open about that with the boys. They'll tell you, I thought Jonas won the fight. But my point was, she had one loss. All right, the girl, she got knocked down and everything else. She had one loss, one bad night, let's say, right?
One bad night.
And then they wrote her off.
Yeah,
she should retire. This is the end. And you're thinking, my God, she's had one bad night in the office, for God's sake.
And then comes back and puts a performance like that on.
And should have won. Should have won.
She's just such a nice girl. Amazing advert.
Sometimes, Jane, people who watch boxing, who don't fight, who sit back and watch boxing, they see you lose. Don't realise that we're all human and we deserve. We don't always perform 100%, and we do have a bit off night. So people who sit at home and watch a lot of them always think that, you've lost one and you're no good. But it don't go like that. We're all in.
A lot of that's the new generation, though, of it. A lot of them are, I hate to say it, but they're Twitter fans, aren't they?
That's right.
You go on these bloody social media sites, and
that's
they're all fucking coaches and managers.
What they are. It's sad.
Yeah, and they're like,
we've had many conversations, like me, Arv, and Lakey. We were talking about certain fighters that win a few, lose a few. What was the guy we was talking about yesterday, Arv? Delroy Mellis.
Delroy Mellis. Remember him, Jane?
Remember him, yeah.
Delroy Mellis. You remember he blasted out
Wayne
Alexander.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Blasted him out. And we were just saying, it doesn't always matter what the record is.
Oh. It doesn't matter. It's all on the night.
Boom.
It's all on the night, innit, Rich? All on the night.
Oh. Exactly. Well, Tasha Jonas, I've been trying to get her on the show for ages, so hopefully she'll listen to this now and come on.
She'll come on, I'll tell her.
Just that,
Tell her Auntie Jane said you've got to do it.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to message her now. Under orders. But no, in all fairness, the likes of Tasha Jones and Carly Skelly when she fought Amy Timlin, that was another one that should have been a win.
Oh, that was, she was a good little girl,
Rachel Ball.
Well, she did win, didn't she?
Oh, I love Rachel.
Don't forget, she was fighting Courtney Lakey with conversation.
Right. She's just so she's just so natural, isn't she? And she's just so down to earth. She's great. I like Rachel.
She was fighting the Golden Goose, Shannon Courtney.
Yeah.
So in the Golden Goose's back garden. And when we spoke to Rachel, she said she wasn't sure whether she was going to get her hand raised.
No.
Even though she knew she won the fight, she didn't know she was going to get her hand raised. And she got the knockdown.
Again, she knows the game.
Jane, if there was crowds in, she probably wouldn't have got the decision.
No, that's right.
I was thinking that myself. Rather Norway. She got it.
It is, but I suppose. Jane.
It's just what happens, and then it's sad when they do that, because if someone loses and they give them the win, that person probably thinks they won the fight as well in their head, you know, and then it puts more pressure on them, you know. And then when you're stepping up in levels, you'll get found out.
Yeah.
You can only be protected for so long.
Yeah, there's a few of them around at the minute. We won't mention any names, guys, but there's a few that we just had that conversation about off air that I think could come unstuck. But I mean, going back to you, Jane. I mean, obviously there's lots going on. So obviously the book, which has been fantastically successful. You've got the TV series, and you're working with Sir Jones. When are you kind of hoping that's going to come to? Obviously you're in the writing stages at the moment.
Yeah, the right stages at the minute, and because of lockdown, I think we should have been starting to film around June, but it's going to be pushed back a bit because of COVID. What's going on and that, and we just have to sit tight and see what happens. But I could just get on with the writing of it, and I'm talking to more people from back in the day, and hopefully getting some more funny stories for it.
You're going to be famous. You're going to be on the TV.
Me and I.
Brilliant.
You have to get your dreadlocks back, though, Arv. That's the only stipulation. Have to have your dreads back.
It could do it coming off now. It's getting on my nerves, but
when you take it off, mate, you look like you're right.
Tell you what, Arv, we could do an exhibition.
The wife said that.
We could do an exhibition at Wolverhampton Civic Centre. Remember that? Wolverhampton Civic Centre. That's where I met you with people on it.
Jane, did you ever fight there?
I did fight in Birmingham, but not Wolverhampton.
Not there. Okay.
I fought. Ken Purchase.
Let me Google it.
I want to be shows. Ken purchases shows. You thought I want a Ken show?
Wayne Alcock fought. Yeah.
You thought I know
Wayne Alcock?
Okay.
Oh, that's a name you don't hear often enough.
Yeah.
Wayne Alcock.
I know. He's got a shop in Brum.
He's got his shop, isn't he? Sports shop. Is it sports shop?
Yeah, he was main event. Yeah, that was. I can't remember where it was. It was some. I think that. I'm not sure. I think it was some hotel in Birmingham.
Was it Solihull or Birmingham? Solihull or Birmingham?
Aston Villa Leisure Centre. I fought there
Leisure
as well.
Centre.
For Rodney Burr. Rodney Burr, the South African promoter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blimey, Rodney.
I fought a German now. A German.
Man. But well, I think just all these things pop in. Well, we've got to make the most of it while we've got it for a few more minutes. I know you probably want to get to bed in a minute, but your last fight. I mean, obviously we've spoken a little bit about how you started your career, middle of your career, fighting American, meeting Angelo Dundee. But that very last fight, what convinced you it was time to hang up the gloves? Because we
made the weight. Just couldn't make the weight anymore. I'd been at 135 and 140, and it was just getting harder and harder to make the work. And I was pretty unhappy in Bristol in the camp at the time. All the lads had left or retired, and it was getting harder. Just being at the camp on my own, there was no sparring or anything. So I don't know. Oh, and then I failed the brain scan. That was it. I got offered a fight in Germany, so I booked another brain scan, and then the boxing board called me and said, "Oh, you've had a slight alteration," whatever that meant. So Barry Jones had the same thing. So I went to see a specialist, and he said, "Well, it's just like you can carry on if you want, but any more punches, I mean, I'm forgetful enough now. It's fucking terrible." So
tell me about it. I'm the same. Not even been punched.
But there comes a point where you think, well, I can either carry on and maybe not be able to have a conversation in a few years, or sort of get out now and try and work on my brain a little bit, which is what I decided to do.
Sensible. So
have you got... Yeah. I could have carried on, I think, but
would it have been worth it? That's the question.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm bad enough now.
The thing is, Jane, you know in your own heart and mind when it's time to finish, don't you? And you finish when it was right for you.
Yeah, I knew a couple of there was nothing. I just couldn't pull the trigger anymore, and I couldn't. I don't know. It just everything felt slow, and I just didn't feel myself. I didn't feel like, even when I got beat in my fights, I always put up a good fight, and I took a lot of punches and kept coming, but I couldn't even do that anymore. I couldn't even get out of the way of the punches anymore, and it started to hurt. It never used to hurt when I was younger.
Yeah, you started feeling them a bit more.
Started feeling them a bit more than normal, yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely the right choice. And just very quickly before we let you go, I mean, what advice would you have for any young ladies that are looking to start in boxing now? They're going to be coming through. It's getting more popular. What advice would you give? What would be your key bit of advice?
I think that's a hard one, because I help the younger generation now, the next generation, and I always say to them, just do it as an amateur level, but as a pro level, like, that's a little bit different, because there's more politics involved, and pro boxing's all about money. So before you go into that from the amateurs, and I've spoke to a few of the amateur girls, and I think they were quite shocked at what they came into, with a lot of the politics involved, and get the right person, speak to the pros that are pros now, and just get the proper lowdown, because it's not all a bed of roses, and usually only 25% of it, unless you're a Olympic star with a Sky deal, or the next big thing, and you've got backers and sponsors. It's otherwise you're just going to be like a lot of the girls that are just trying to get by selling tickets. I remember used to sit at the farm counting the money for the tickets, and you're like, shit, I'm sure I sold more than that, and you go into the promoter, oh, I've only sold like 100 tickets, and counting the money, and you feel responsible for that. So it's two different lots of advice, but as a young kid, and for confidence, and to go and just train, brilliant. But as a professional, like, just talk to the right people. Don't be like me.
Get a good manager.
Very good.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks, Jane, and I'm sure
Thank you, Jane.
You've given us more than you've been so generous with your time.
Appreciate it. I'm still in awe. I could listen to you all night, but
I could. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's
but my battery's about to die on the phone.
Yeah, and we all need to buy. I've got to buy your book, haven't you, Arv?
Yeah, well, Jane, I was meant to get it ages ago. I don't know why I haven't got up to Mary Hill Centre and got it, but I don't know. Is it?
No, there's something you can do
Download
now. It's called the internet, mate. You can download it. You don't need to go to a
Kindle.
It's nice to have the. It's nice to have the book itself.
I'll give you the book and sign it for you, but you listen to it on Kindle and I'll send it.
All right, then I'll do that. Then.
Do that.
You did that on purpose. That's really clever. I've got to remember that one.
No, I never thought about it because I never thought. Honestly, I wanted the book.
Did you hear how high pitched his voice went?
You know what? You were one of the nicer ones that I met in boxing, and we've always stayed in touch, and I respect you from the bottom.
Yeah, likewise.
You're the best.
That's nice, Jane. Thanks for your kind words. That's nice. Likewise.
Do love him to bits.
He's a good lad. You're both beautiful, wonderful people.
Top draw, both of you.
Yeah.
Top draw. I've really enjoyed this.
Go get in
really,
trouble
really enjoyed it.
with your boss.
Fuck the boss. Fuck the boss.
Hopefully we'll chat again sometime.
Yeah, we definitely will. But when your TV series comes out, it'll be good to catch up.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll let you get off to bed now because you're probably shattered.
See you later, guys.
Thank you, darling.
Bye.
Bye.